So now that we have spent some time with centering, connecting with this moment, I'm going to invite us to connect even more deeply with what's happening in your body and what your body might be asking for right now. And sometimes when we're doing quiet breathing meditation, we find ourselves so still that it's almost hard to move. While other times we might just feel like there's fidgeting that just keeps happening and it's hard to find that stillness. So when we're moving mindfully, we're really finding what movement can happen and staying with it. And generally, our bodies do a lot of things that we're not paying attention to. We're going to pay attention to what's happening with the body and see what would feel right with some suggestions and possibilities that I will present. And just as Luann said, you really are invited to listen most deeply to your own body, your own sense of what's right. And if something that I'm suggesting isn't where your body wants to go, see what your body is wanting and go there mindfully, attentively, wherever that is. I am on a ball right now. I'm sitting on a ball. If you're sitting in a chair, you may find that it can also allow for quite a bit of movement with your seat still on the chair. So I'm going to invite you first to just begin to explore how much movement can happen with your sits bones still there on the chair if you're sitting. Maybe taking yourself around in a circle, maybe dropping yourself down in front, maybe reaching yourself up and out. So many possibilities for what your upper body might be able to and want to do while your legs are still there where they were underneath you. First exploring, maybe reaching way out with one arm, reaching way out with the other arm. Or perhaps it would feel more right to circle your arms around yourself. And as you're exploring the movement that feels right now, you might notice how your breath is involved in each movement you make. And in fact, your breath can inspire movement. Perhaps the breath out takes you inwards. And perhaps breathing in helps you to expand. And that expansion could go up, out in both directions, out in one direction, out in front of you. Could be opening up your chest while your arms reach back. Seeing what inhaling and opening up can take you into, and then seeing how your exhale allows you to soften, release, sink. Just exploring with your breath. might even notice if there are sounds that want to come with any of those movements. Perhaps a sigh. Ah. Ah. Perhaps a cry, perhaps a prayer. We don't think always about sounds that might be part of the movements that we're making. But if you give your body permission to let a sound come, you might be surprised. Now, you might want to stay where you are sitting, or you might want to get up out of your chair and see what other movements can begin to happen when you're free of a chair. Perhaps a twisting around that takes you around from hip to hip. Sometimes a very simple movement back and forth, rocking yourself, can feel soothing. And again, your breath may lead you into what's next. Perhaps lengthening yourself out at some point. Perhaps curling yourself up at another. Letting your breath lead you. And letting places in your body bring themselves to your attention. Perhaps your shoulders after a day at the computer are asking for some kind of circling around or opening up. Just exploring to feel what would feel good, what would ease tension, what would allow a stretch or a relief, or just something that feels soothing. Perhaps your movement is taking you all the way down to the ground. I'm going to get down here and be seen. I can. Perhaps you're feeling like you could roll around down there. If you have a little bit of room, maybe back and forth, maybe curling up and stretching out from there. And it's nice to take a little bit of time with a part of you that maybe hasn't had any attention in a while. Some place that's asking to be stretched in some way. You can see what feels good to you. Wherever your movement has taken you, whether they're very small internal movements or whether you're stretching yourself way out in your space. You might imagine that you're floating in air, floating on water, floating in some way that allows for a very gentle kind of rocking. Letting your breathing ease Bringing yourself back to a quiet space.